Alright, so here's where I'm at with the whole PS5 Pro thing, and maybe you're feeling the same way. Like, should we upgrade or nah? Honestly, I'm leaning towards skipping it this year. Hear me out though, cause there are some legit reasons why I'm saying this, especially if you already own a PS5. First up, the PS5 Pro is gonna have all this shiny new tech, right? Better graphics, faster load times, some new resolution wizardry, spectral super resolution or something like that that's supposed to hit 4K at 60 FPS and even go up to 120 in some games. Sounds great on paper, yeah? But here's the thing. Do we really need that right now? If you've already got a PS5, it's still kicking ass with everything you throw at it. And let's be real, most games today are running beautifully on it. And let's not ignore the price. We're probably looking at, what, 600 to 700 US dollars or more? That's steep, man. If you've got a PS5 that's doing just fine, dropping that kind of cash for a bit more polish and maybe some frame rate boosts, I don't know. Unless you're swimming in cash and really want those few extra frames or whatever, I'm just not seeing the immediate value here. I will expand on this a bit later. Like, okay, let's be fair. There are benefits, right? For those games that are going to push the PS5 to its limits, the Pro might give you a smoother experience. But how many games are we talking about? A few? Then there's the fact that new hardware always has its issues. Who's to say the PS5 Pro won't have its own set of hiccups? So, maybe we let the early adopters be the guinea pigs this time, see what they have to say, and avoid those day one headaches. Here's where my head is at. Why not wait a bit? Maybe even a year. Games aren't suddenly going to start running like garbage on the regular PS5 anytime soon. So why rush into a mid-gen upgrade if it might be a short-lived bridge to the next big thing? And if you're like me with a massive backlog of games you still gotta finish or even start, then what's the rush? My PS5 is still treating me good, and I'd rather save my money, see how things shake out, and maybe upgrade later when there's a more compelling reason. But hey, if you still playing on PS4 Pro or you've been rocking an Xbox Series X, I get it. The PS5 Pro would be a sick entry point to next-gen gaming, no doubt. It's like jumping straight to the best version of the console, and you won't have to think about upgrading for years. I had a PS4 Slim that I still own and love, but I'll be honest with you. In the latter half of its life cycle, I was struggling with it. The games took forever to load, texture pop-ins and frame drops were all over the place. For example, AC Odyssey had loading screens every time I entered a cutscene, sometimes even in the middle of a cutscene. Not to mention having to wait 5 minutes just to start the fricking game. I literally had moments when I booted up the game, and right before it finished loading, I changed my mind and didn't want to play anymore. Crazy, right? AC Valhalla ran like absolute crap on that thing. I was even wondering why they put it on the PS4 Slim, but you know if it comes on PS4 Pro, it comes on PS4 Slim. Alright, so let's get real about the state of games right now, because honestly, it's been a bit frustrating lately, and I feel like it needs to be said, the games haven't exactly been blowing us away, and it makes you wonder what the point is of all this next-gen hardware if the software isn't there to back it up. You can have all the fancy tech specs in the world, but if the games are underwhelming or full of performance issues, who cares? Look, I get it. New consoles need time to build a library of great games. But we're a few years into the PS5 now, and I'm still staring at my library and seeing a whole lot of PS4 titles. That's like 80% of what I own. And don't get me wrong, there's some incredible stuff from the PS4 era, but if I'm supposed to be hyped for the PS5 Pro, I need something more than what feels like a bunch of rehashes or games that still have one foot stuck in the last gen. And the new releases? Oh man, don't even get me started on the new releases. We've got games dropping left and right with performance issues, day one patches, and bugs up the wazoo. Like, does it really matter if you have a PS5 Pro or the regular PS5 when half these games are struggling to run properly because the devs are too busy cramming in microtransactions and DLC plans instead of optimizing the damn game? It's like, how much more can the hardware do if the software isn't meeting it halfway? So yeah, Sony needs to step up, big time. Show me something. I'm talking about real improvements, not just marketing hype. Give me a reason to believe that this PS5 Pro is going to change the way we game, because right now, it feels like more of the same. And that's not enough to justify dropping more cash on another console. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting cynical, but I've been growing weary, you know? Every time I look at my library and see it filled with titles that are basically PS4 hand-me-downs, it's like, what did I really upgrade for? I mean, imagine you're sitting there with a shiny new PS5 Pro, and then you go to boot up a game, and it's the same old stuff. Or worse, it's a new game, but it's filled with performance issues and frame drops and all these technical problems that no amount of horsepower is going to fix because the software itself is busted. That's where I'm at right now. Companies will always give us more of what we pay for and less of what we don't pay for. You know, thinking back to the jump from PS3 to PS4, that was really something special. Like seriously, look at Uncharted 3 versus Uncharted 4. Uncharted 3 on the PS3 was already mind-blowing back in the day with its set pieces and cinematic style, but when you booted up Uncharted 4 on the PS4, that was next-level stuff. The character models, the environment details, the way the mud splatters on Nathan Drake's pants as he slides down a hill, it all looked so much more real and alive. Same thing with God of War 3 on PS3 versus God of War 2018 on PS4. The latter wasn't just a visual leap. It was a whole reinvention of how games could tell stories and engage players on an emotional level. The lighting, textures, and even the smallest details like Kratos' scars were on another level. And I could keep going with examples like The Last of Us and The Last of Us Part 2, where you see not just graphical improvements, but also huge leaps in animations and storytelling. The difference was crystal clear. It felt like you were stepping into the next era of gaming. But then, let's talk about the jump from PlayStation 4 to PlayStation 5. What is it really? We're mostly looking at PlayStation 4 games that look a bit shinier, a bit sharper. Don't get me wrong. Playing games in 4K with faster load times and maybe some ray tracing does make things look better. But is it the same kind of leap we got from PS3 to PS4? Honestly, it feels more like an iterative upgrade than a revolutionary one. We're still playing games that, while they look nice, don't necessarily scream next-gen. Take a game like Horizon Forbidden West. Sure, it looks stunning on the PS5, but it's not so far off from the PS4 version. Even Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Demon's Souls look fantastic, but they don't hit you with that wow, this is completely different vibe like we felt with those PS3 to PS4 jumps. It's more like, hey, this is the same game but with a few more bells and whistles. I mean, where's that jaw-dropping moment? Where's that game that feels like it couldn't run on anything less than a PlayStation 5? Oh man, don't even get me started on those fake gameplay trailers. You know the ones? Those super polished, over-the-top, jaw-dropping trailers that make you think, this is it. This is the future of gaming. Then the actual game comes out, and it's like, wait, what happened here? It's not just a little bit different. It's a complete downgrade, like they stripped out half the game's soul. And yeah, I'm not just talking about Ubisoft, though they've definitely become the poster child for it with stuff like Watch Dogs and The Division. It's pretty much a universal problem across all companies now. Remember the Cyberpunk 2077 trailers? They were showcasing this insane, vibrant world full of life and NPCs reacting dynamically to every little thing you did. And then we got whatever that launch was. Half the features they promised were either missing or just plain didn't work. And don't even get me started on Anthem. Those E3 trailers had us all hyped for this epic next-gen experience, and we got, well, you know how that went. It's the same story with almost every major release nowadays. No Man's Sky, Aliens, Colonial Marines, Mass Effect, Andromeda, it's like Battlefield 2042. You watch these trailers and it's like they've hired Hollywood directors to make them look way better than they actually are. They pump in these insane perfect lighting, and buttery smooth gameplay that makes you think, wow, I can't believe this is real. But the key word here is believe. It's like we're being catfished by our own favorite developers, and it sucks. And it's not like they're just showing the best parts of the game. Sometimes they're straight up rendering things that don't even exist in the final product. They know exactly what they're doing, crafting these vertical slices of gameplay that only exist to sell copies. When you see that disclaimer, work in progress, subject to change, it's almost like a meme at this point. Because we all know the final product will look like a potato version of what they showed us. The problem is that it's become standard practice in the industry now, and they keep getting away with it. We buy into the hype, pre-order the game, and then are left disappointed. It's like a bad relationship. How many times are we going to let them break our hearts before we learn? If anything, I feel like this is why gamers have grown more cynical lately. It's like we need to see the game in the wild, with real players and real gameplay footage, before we even think about opening our wallets. What do you think? Are we just falling for the same tricks over and over, or is there a way to stop this nonsense? Hardware without software is like having a sports car with no gas. It might look nice, but it ain't going anywhere. But honestly, looking at some of these recent games like Black Myth or Star Wars Outlaws and how they're supposedly optimized for the PS5, I don't know, man. It doesn't really fill me with confidence. These publishers seem like they're just rushing out games, throwing in microtransaction shops, and layering DRM on everything. It's like, where's the love for the actual gaming experience? So yeah, what I'm trying to say is I'm getting tired of handing over my money to these big corporations without them showing some real effort or passion. But hey, all in all, my mind can still change. I'm just one good state of play away from jumping on the hype train. Maybe Sony will show us something that'll blow me away, but as things are going this year, I can't help but feel a little pessimistic. I don't know, man. Those are just my 2 cents on the state of the gaming industry right now. Maybe I'm being too harsh, maybe I'm getting a bit too bitter, but I can't help feeling this way when I see how things are going. What do you think? Are you excited about the PS5 Pro? Are you also waiting for Sony to show us some real reasons to care? Let's hash it out in the comments. Maybe we'll get a clearer picture together.